Well, I like the general development, no doubt about that, because I think by and large North Korea has three very, very valid points. Point one, change the armistice of 1953 into a peace treaty. Point two, normalization of diplomatic relations. And point three, a denuclearized UN-inspected Korean Peninsula. And what has happened is great progress on number one and two. What we have experienced now is something, in a sense, quite fantastic, and that is, it's moving towards a peace treaty, and the normalization is taking place in the sense that there will be a United States embassy in Pyongyang, and of course a North Korean one in Washington. And I'm looking forward to the same arrangement with Tokyo. But number three, the nuclear-free Korean Peninsula, I think we still have a stalemate. United States and Trump want a nuclear-free North Korea. North Korea wants a nuclear-free Korean Peninsula, including the nuclear capability of U.S. To what extent it's shared with South Korea, I simply don't know. I don't know that many people know. And we have not come to that point yet. So there is a difference between a one-sided request on North Korea, or demand, and a symmetric request by North Korea on all of them. The second one spells peace, as peace has to do with symmetry. The first one spells U.S. power, you do as we say. I think it's fantastic. It has been a North Korean demand for as long as I can remember, and I think it is absolutely wonderful. I mean, if you want some kind of effort to understand what it means, imagine North Korean exercises with nuclear weapons and everything off California. I mean, just to get a test for it. It would be, of course, outside territorial waters, and in a sense they're free to do that, but they don't do it. So here we are, and a great step forward. You would, of course, assume that there would be critique. And when I look at the New York Times, and I look at Nicholas Kristof, very intelligent, very conservative. So Trump was outfoxed in Singapore. Well, I can understand Kristof's point. North Korea got a lot, and he says it sure looks as if President Trump was hoodwinked in Singapore, and North Korea got a lot in return for nothing, according to Nicholas Kristof. Well, you see, the point is this. If you have a very wrong position, which I think the United States has had, because you can just look at the map and you can ask the question, United States, what are you doing here in East Asia? Can't you be so kind and stay at home and try to make a decent United States? That's already quite a job. What are you doing here? So if you look at it from that, you may say that things are getting much better, and that Trump was not outfoxed. He was corrected for U.S. policies. So stopping those so-called games, I think, is excellent. However, now comes my however. I ask myself, what does this mean for Trump's life expectancy as the President of the United States? He is now outfoxing, indeed, very big and powerful forces in the United States of America. And at the same time, on the background of all of this, is the indisputable warm relationship he still has to put in with Russia being appointed now the arch enemy of the United States. So, Donald J. Trump, be careful. Well, that we will of course see when the embassy is established. There are concrete things to be done. And I assume that Trump will order it to go ahead. He was very quick at establishing an embassy in Jerusalem, as we know. So if he was that quick at that one, maybe he can be equally quick at this one. Let us see. There are things to be implemented. I understand that the war games have been suspended, and that seems to me very, very good and very positive. So, test of the pudding is in the eating. We'll see what happens. In a sense, it is quite simple. Point one, you look at the Armistice Agreement of 1953, which came after the United States Air Force had killed at least 3 million, according to Teddy Kennedy, in North Korea during the Korean War in 1952. 3 million is a heavy toll on a relatively small people. So it came after that. And to change it into a peace treaty would mean to have with North Korea something very similar to what the United States had with South Korea, where there is a so-called peace treaty. I say so-called because the whole operation on the Korean Peninsula from 1950 on was a UN operation mandated by the United Nations. And it is not quite clear that you can make a peace treaty with only two of the parties concerned. I think more is needed. But let us see how they move ahead on that one. And the second point is, of course, the normalization. Well, as I have just said, Trump is quick at establishing embassies, and I would imagine that North Korea would follow up rather immediately. I myself have had talks with the North Korean ambassador in Berlin and the North Korean ambassador to the United Nations. Found them extremely competent, and I'm not so sure I can say the same about South Korean diplomats. So I think this would be a challenge for South Korea to upgrade, so to speak, the level of their diplomats. And one good place to start would be linguistic competence. I'm amazed by how polyglot the North Korean diplomats are, for instance. And it has to do with the quality of Kim Il-sung University. And it may not be a bad idea to have more students flocking from United States and South Korea to that university. Not to try to outfox them or to sort of spy on them, but simply to learn from them. It might not be a bad idea. So having said that, here I've indicated some follow-ups, if you will. But the basic follow-up is, of course, the tricky point, a symmetric approach to nuclear armament in all the Korean Peninsula, to look at it as a two-sided thing, not as has been the U.S. and Trump line so far, one-sided, a question of denuclearizing North Korea. I see a doubleness. You know, South Korea has to play two games at the same time. They are a so-called ally, like Taiwan, of United States, and they have been tied together very much in those exercises, the games, so-called the war games. Now, with that one out, the concrete content of that alliance is, if you will, weakened somewhat. But an alliance means to come to each other's mutual support in case of attack. And that will stay, as far as I can understand. And they have reason to say that North Korea has attacked, has crossed the border, the armistice line, did in 1950. One can talk about provocations, one can talk about them being very well received by forces in South Korea, particularly workers and students. All of that one can say. But they cross the border, no doubt about that. So, in other words, there are things to watch out, and they have to be watched.